Hello, Dr. Mooney, fellow classmates. This is AEP 800, Module 5. My name is Rick Hall. This report is about barriers to technology, use and availability in K through 12 environments. We were given this assignment in Module 5 to review 4 articles. The first article was Barriers to Using Web 2.0 in the 21st Century Schools. I read through the article, and the two things that kind of stuck out with me was the reasons for lack of progress in improving the access. The time, the training, and the support, and the fear of new technology is definitely a block in my school. One of the things I did like about the article, though, was it said you need an action plan to improve tech literacy and skills. One of my favorite quotes is from George Patton. A plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan waited till tomorrow. So I would suggest that we violently execute tech literacy and skills plans in our schools. The second article was 7 common barriers that obstruct tech adoption in education. The one paragraph that really stuck out to me was the one about the teacher changing the role. Most classrooms in the past, especially the ones that I ran, were always teacher-centered. And because of technology, it needs to become more of a student-centered role. And also the comment about infrastructure would be a barrier as well, and that's true. I mean, you look at some of the smaller schools that I taught in southern Arkansas, they were definitely built by the Works Progress Association, and they didn't have the infrastructure to be technologically sound like a lot of classrooms do. The third one was the digital divide. A quarter of the nation is without broadband. Boy, I could really relate to this one because when I lived in Arkansas, our internet at our house was through CenturyLink. It was a phone provider, so it was dial-up, and oh my gosh, it was terrible. And then we moved and couldn't get CenturyLink anymore, so we had to use HughesNet, and that was even worse. If it got cloudy or if we got past our, what we paid for, it slowed way down. And it was because we lived out in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas. So this discussion in this article talked about that as well. The final article was about open educational resources. I'm a big believer and supporter of this. I won a state championship in girls basketball back in '97, a long time ago. And most everything I used, I stole from somebody else. And so I kind of do the same thing. There are so many talented teachers out there, and I love using their material. And what was interesting about the article was it mentioned that open educational resources generally aren't as good as paid for resources. And that's a bunch of baloney, because there is some great stuff on YouTube and Khan Academy, and I use it all the time. Number one question in the assignment was, do you feel that the digital divide can be resolved? Absolutely, if we attack it in a couple different ways. The first thing we do, we need to make sure that there's low-cost hardware and equipment available for everyone. It's got to be low-cost because funding is such an important thing in schools today. There also has to be low-cost services available, low-cost internet, low-cost any kind of support services. It needs to be low-cost so funding doesn't come into the equation. There has to be training for administrators, training for teachers in new technology. I've seen it over and over again. The kids generally pick up stuff really quick, so we need to make sure that the professionals that are guiding them down the path get trained and can handle what needs to be done. Also, there needs to be service support for new teachers, support for administrators who aren't used to technology, and support for the students as they go forward as well. A short overview of how these things can be resolved: low-cost hardware, low-cost services, training and support. Question number 2, what skill sets do you feel 21st century students must acquire prior to graduation? I think one of the most important skill sets is being able to type. A really good story is about my father. In 1955, he graduated from a real small school in Arkansas. He had a typing teacher that was just a horror, he said. She hammered it into them and made them become really good typers. And at the time, he couldn't really tell, why do I need to learn how to type? Well, fast forward about 8 years, in 1963, 64, Santa Fe Railroad had put out an ad for a clerk typist in Olathe, Kansas. 32 people showed up. They were in a room, and the gentleman giving the test handed out a paper and said, okay, type this and go as fast as you can. So my father types at about almost 100 words a minute, and it's because of what that teacher did to him. He finished, walked up to the man and handed his paper in, and the man asked him, are you done? He said, yes, sir. And he looked over real quick, and he stood up while everybody else was still typing. He stood up, job's filled, everybody else go home. And my father worked for Santa Fe Railroad for 32 years, and he got that job because of that skill of typing. Another skill I think they need to have is just having the morals and the character and the sense and the philosophy to be good online learners, online users. Sometimes I'm not sure that we teach them that enough. They need to have basic office skills, Microsoft Office skills, PowerPoint, Word, Excel. And, if they're proficient in those, their life's going to be so much easier when they get to college or go on to professions. They need to be able to surf the web and know what information is correct. They need to be able to funnel out the sketchy ones and be able to look at information and make concerned or proper decisions on what is right and what is wrong, and need to be able to search things out. And another skill they need to have is cybersecurity. They need to understand to keep themselves safe, their information safe, not to go onto websites and put out information that might put them in danger. Number 3, what impact has the global economy had on your personal use of the internet? I'm a ham radio operator. My call sign is KF5PZB. I have bought tons of radio equipment from China. They make a little handheld ham radio like the ones on the screen called a Baofeng, and it is very economical. It's a handheld, about $30. My wife and I teach a ham radio class, and we help people get their licenses. One church in Arkansas, we got 30 people licensed, and then we sent away to China and got 30 ham radios for a very cheap price. And what's interesting is when it came through customs, it had toys marked on it, but they were very good ham radios. So the global economy, my personal use of the internet is interesting. We're also thinking about getting new basketball uniforms for next year for the boys team here. And we're talking to a salesperson in China. And 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So internet really pushes the global economy. What technology training do you still need to be effectively integrate technology in your current position? I'm a huge fan of Dilbert, and this cartoon kind of says it all when they ask for people who are older, ones that had landlines, no cell phones, no caller ID, and the response, you can read the comic. But sometimes I worry that I'm the old fogey saying fiddlesticks. I do have a tendency to think of myself as the old guy, get off my lawn guy. I'm going to take my dog for a walk. But when I was a consultant for Oracle, I did do a lot of HTML coding, and I really liked HTML coding. Is really cool. I think the students should do that. I wish I was better at it. And one of the reasons why I wish I was better at it is I'd like to develop a Khan Academy-like YouTube channel and share some of the teaching that I've done in social studies. Is your school equipped with 21st century technology? Yes, we are. We are wired to the web. All our schools, the middle school, elementary school, each room in Elkhart has its own wireless point, so we really don't have any technology connection problems. The team that works here has done a very good job. We have a very large computer work center and 2 very qualified instructors, and the students have access to that as long as the school's open. In the library, there, like I said in my other slide, there's 80 Mac laptops that they can check out at any time. They have to stay in the school though. All the teachers have laptops. All the teachers have laptops and iPads as well, and it's all connected to Apple TVs. And our classrooms are very technologically advanced compared to some of the ones I've been in. So I feel very fortunate here at Elkhart.
If I can't teach you one way, I'll teach you another. But I'm going to get the job done.
And you know, when the Duke talks, people listen. So innovation practices in school, it heightens the students' interest. They love technology. It keeps them in pace with their peers, because when they leave and go to college or go to anywhere, they have to be on the same level with the peers from other parts of the country and world. It allows for varied career paths. It prepares students for the digital life. And let's be honest, I mean, we live in a digital world, and it's going to do nothing but get more digitized, more computerized, more advanced technologically. It increases employability. That story I told about my father was kind of an amazing story, but I've experienced a little bit of that myself in my job searches at times. Helps build confidence. We're doing a project now about President Roosevelt's 10 New Deal programs, and I've had the kids learn how to use Google Slides and use Screencast-O-Matic, and they think it's kind of cool. What disadvantages do you see? Well, technology really is a distraction. I mean, I have a thing where the kids have to put their phones in when they come into my classroom. I got to take it away from them. I see a social interaction, issue. Actually, technology used for cheating. I had an example in my classroom where I was given a test one day, and all of a sudden I heard via a phone that was supposed to be put up, it said, "Beijing is the capital of China." So somebody had their phone out and was trying to find the answer to a test. Equal access and use must be available to all, and I'm sure right now it's not that way. Everything on the internet is true. I had a guy actually tell me that one time, and I just couldn't believe it. He told me something that I just knew wasn't right. He says, "Where'd you get that at?" He says, "Oh, it's on the internet. It was on the internet. If it's on the internet, it's true." And then we're all back to the old funding and stakeholder support, and leadership changes, and training and support. It seems like an impossible road, but it's not. It's certainly not. Have you experienced problems with cyberbullying or inappropriate internet use with students? Well, the elephant in the room is this. With technology, you've opened that Pandora's box. There's going to be bullies. There was bullies when I was in junior high. It happens now. They just have a different platform. And the kids react really strange sometimes. So it can be a hateful cycle. I personally haven't experienced any cyberbullying, but I would say almost every one of my classes, they talk about sometimes where somebody has said something on Facebook or Snapchat or emailed them. So it's out there, and how do we handle it? We just teach them to deal with it and be responsible citizens.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
And that's it. Have a great day. Thanks.